In the last video, we created this bad boy here. Now, let's try and make something similar, but using our own data so we can practice a little bit of data manipulation along with plotting and put some of our Pandas and Matplotlib skills together. So what we'll do, we'll format the price column first. We'll get it into integer format because right now we don't want those dollar signs and columns and commas. We don't want those for when we're doing numerical operations. So to do that, we'll go car sales, and then we'll change the price column. We need to access the string. We saw this in the Pandas section. We go string.replace, and now we want to pass in a little bit of regex here. There we go. So essentially all this is saying is get the dollar sign, the comma, and the dot, which is here and here, and replace it. And we're going to replace it with an empty string. So we'll see what this does. Car sales. Oh, we need to add car sales there. So let's see what it looks like now. Okay, beautiful. But we've got 2 extra zeros on the end, so we don't want that. So we want to go remove last 2 zeros. We got car sales. We want to access the price column again. We're going to reassign it to car sales price. Again, it's still a string. So if we have a look at this, we go here, type, just to exemplify what we're doing with the dot string. Oh, it's a series. Okay, but that's all right. Well, it's still a string. So we're accessing it with the dot string method here. Maybe if we go 0, string. There we go. So that's accessing this little one here, and it's telling us that it's a string. So that's why we have to access it as a string first with .str. And now we want to remove the last 2 using slicing. Oh, let's have a look at what car sales looks like here. Oh no, we've removed too many. So what we can do is rerun it. We're going to have to re-import our data frame to fix that little issue. That's going to just reset it. Because remember, Jupyter cells are running in sequential mode. So if we run this cell more than once, it's going to continually remove the last 2 digits of our price column as long as we keep running this. So we don't want that. So now our price column is in the format that we want. We're going to add a sale date column, which will be similar to the PD date range function that we used up here, pd.daterange. So let's do that. Data range 1, 1. We want to pass it a date 2020. Number of periods. So this is how many dates we want to add. We've got periods here. So that's a parameter. So that's going to add this one. We had 1,000 periods, but we don't want that many for our car sales data frame. We actually just want date period for each row here. So we can do that by going periods equals len car sales. And then we'll check our car sales data frame again. Beautiful. So now we've got a sale date here, which is sequential. That's okay. Maybe they all weren't sold on sequential dates, but we're just making an example of how we can start to manipulate our existing data frames. So the next thing, what we want to do is we want to make a total column. So we want to start to add up how much we've made from selling all our cars. So if we added 4,000 to 5,000 to 7,000, so this is where we can use something like CumSum because it's going to add each of these prices cumulatively. So let's make a total column. This should be car sales, total sales. And then what do we want? We want the price column. That's right. Car sales price dot CumSum. Let's see what happens here. Car sales. Oh, what have we done? It's worked, but because our price column is still in string format, it's just concatenated the strings to each other. So let's have a look. Car sales price 0.dtype. Oh, that's a bit boring. Let's get it back to exemplifying that it's a string. There we go. So our price column is still a string. So to fix this, we have to change it first into an integer and then call the CumSum function. So we can do .asType int.CumSum. So what this is going to do is go reassign the total sales column to be the price column as an integer as type int dot cumulative sum. This should work in theory, but as always, run the code, then check. Beautiful. Okay, so this has gone total sales, 4,000 plus 5,000 is 9,000, plus 7,000 is 16,000, and then it keeps going right up to the end. So after we've sold all of our cars across these 10 days or so, we have 76,450. Beautiful. That's some good profit there. We can use that to fund our almond butter store. And now, let's plot the total sales. So we want car sales. We want to see what our total sales looks like over time. So kind of replicating this graph here, but with our own data. Car sales dot plot x equals sale date. And now this is where you can call .plot directly on a Pandas data frame. This is Pandas version of the Matplotlib API, or the wrapper, Pandas wrapper for the Matplotlib API. So we're just going DataFrame.plot, and we're passing it our X, which is the date, and our Y, which is the total sales column. So let's see what this looks like. Total sales. And we'll put a semicolon at the end so it doesn't print out. Beautiful. There we go. So this is just an example of how you can take some code right from the documentation or some example that you found online, and we've replicated it up here. But then we've taken the principles from it, or some of them, and put them together with our own data, and then created this little visualization here. So now we can visualize, okay, so say we sold our 10 cars over the first 10 days of January. Now our total sales is going up and to the right, which is very pleasing for our boss because that's the type of graph they want to see. Profits up and to the right. And so hopefully you're starting to get an idea of the kind of workflow that you can go about when you're working on your own projects or working on problems you don't necessarily know the answer to. It's all about searching up, trying to find some kind of example, taking information from that, and then seeing if it works with your own problem. Now, we've seen a line plot. How about we try a scatter plot? So we got car sales dot plot x. Let's do it with the odometer this time. Odometer column km. Beautiful. Is that the right column name? Yep. We've worked with this data frame before, so we're kind of familiar with what's happening. Price. And then when you're calling the plot function, there's a little parameter here called kind, which we can feed the type scatter to hopefully get a scatter plot here. Oh, what's happening? Scatter requires Y column to be numeric. Is our price column not numeric? It's still not numeric because here we've called as type int. So this is only going to turn the price column into an integer for running this single line of code. It's not going to reassign the price column to be an integer. These are still strings in the car sales data frame. So what we can do to make this work, we want to reassign the price column to be an integer. Price equals car sales price as type int, because our prices are always going to be integers, right? Money is a numerical value, so it's okay to reassign this data type to be integer. This should work. So we got reassign price column to int, plot scatter plot with price column as numeric. So without this line of code, we'll comment that out. We're going to get an error here, value error, requires Y column to be numeric, but what we're doing with this line here, if we uncomment it, to comment and uncomment code, we can do command slash. So I'm just pressing command slash here. We're going to reassign it as a numeric column. So if we do this, beautiful. Now we have a scatter plot of our odometer column versus price. And remember to remove this little piece of code here. You can put a semicolon right at the end. Excellent. Now, I'm kind of seeing a few examples here of how we can start to plot directly from a Pandas data frame. We'll see a few more, but we'll end this video before it gets too long. So in the meantime, before the next one, maybe you'll try plot a couple of these columns together, whatever kind of plot you want to do. You've seen a few, a bar graph, a scatter plot, a line plot. Have a practice of that, and I'll see you in the next video.